Well, the Secretary-General and I have a good meeting. It was short, but it was good. We have discussed all kinds of NATO issues. First of all, I have used this opportunity to thank the Secretary-General for his excellent work during his time in office. It has been a very challenging time, but I think the Secretary-General have made tremendous effort and significant results. So I'm very pleased to welcome the Secretary-General to Denmark.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. First of all, it was and is a pleasure to meet you. Secondly, let me say that I'm very happy and glad that I have such an excellent successor in former Prime Minister Rasmussen. That is good for NATO, excellent for NATO, as a man with his experience will be at the helm of NATO from the 1st of August onwards. The Prime Minister and I discussed, of course, NATO business focused on Afghanistan. Let me commend Denmark, as I did during the conversation with the Prime Minister, about its contribution. I've visited Danish forces several times, more than once. And I think they're doing a great job in a very challenging environment. We discussed, of course, NATO's future, which is more in the hands of my successor than in my hands. But nevertheless, we went through the decisions made at the summit in Marienborg and Scheffer. The need for a new strategic concept for NATO. We focused, of course, very much on NATO's operations. Denmark is not only very active in Afghanistan, as you know, but also in Kosovo. In other words, it was a very interesting conversation. And I started, of course, by congratulating Prime Minister Rasmussen with his appointments. It was a pleasure to be back. Of course, my fellow visits, but fortunately, NATO is in good hands.
And I am sure the Secretary-General, that even though we have a new government, Denmark, we will not have to work towards NATO. So,
Statsminister, der har været diskussioner. Prime Minister, there's still discussion about whether Denmark should send special forces to Poland to assist in solving the roadside bombing problem. Have you made any commitments to NATO today?
No, I have repeated our very strong commitment to be present in Afghanistan. And if you compare our contribution with the size of our country and our economy and our military forces, I guess you could say that we are one of the leading contributors. And from that, it's up to the military leaders to decide what kind of contribution we should have.
Så lige på dansk, vi har fået en ny pris i Danmark i dag.
Og det tager vi ikke tilbage.
Mr. General Secretary, when you leave office in August, what will be the greatest challenge for your successor?
Well, my successor will have a number of challenges. Afghanistan is, of course, still a challenge and will be a challenge. He will lead the process, which is, I think, very important until the next NATO summit, of giving NATO new strategic concepts, which brings us back to a number of fundamentals about NATO, about NATO's core responsibility, the solidarity, integrated defense Article 5, and NATO's expeditionary missions and operations like in Afghanistan, like in Kosovo, and elsewhere. So he'll have as many challenges as I have had. I think it's good that he can start this discussion about the new strategic concept, that he is involved from the very beginning. And I say again, given his background, given his experience, that we also mentioned, and I was present then in another incarnation, Dutch foreign minister. I think the way he handled that European Union presidency, the time he was Prime Minister in Denmark, acting on the international scene, makes him an excellent success in this role.
Many experts fear that NATO is failing in the southern part of Afghanistan. What would we need to do to correct this, to improve the security situation in southern Afghanistan?
I don't agree with those experts because NATO is not failing in Afghanistan and NATO is not failing in the south of Afghanistan where the Danish forces are. And I say again, I've visited Camp Bastion more than once. The challenges are huge. That is quite true. And we need politically a more reasonable approach for Afghanistan. We can always do with more forces. But to come back to your question to the Prime Minister, Denmark is not the first port of call for these kinds of messages. Any nation which can do more, that is of course highly appreciated. But if I look at the Danish contribution, that is a remarkable one in the framework of NATO. But let me push back a bit when you say that experts say that NATO is failing. Challenges are huge, but the NATO soldiers, including Danish soldiers, are doing an excellent job there.
In relation to Russia, I know that you don't want to speak about intelligence matters, but Russia is speaking out all the time, giving detail about what happened with the expulsion of those two Russian diplomats. Can you tell us a little bit more? Can you say is the Estonia case involved in this and how it is?
I can't tell you anything more because I leave it to our Russian friends to comment, but I don't know. That is a line NATO has always taken, and I'll be no exception in that regard. Let me tell you more in general that I've always been of the opinion, and I'm still of the opinion, that the NATO-Russia partnership is an important one. Russia cannot do without NATO, and NATO cannot do without Russia. That's the bottom line, despite the fact that they criticize an exercise in Georgia, which is a partnership for peace exercise. Not an exercise. Georgia is hosting the exercise, by the way. Let there be not the confusion that this is about Georgia, or that it has anything to do with Georgia. It's an exercise, partnership for peace, hosted by Georgia. And that's all there is about this. It was long-term planned, it was transparent. Despite the fact that we have differences, that we do not like to see Russian forces patrolling non-existing borders on Georgian territory, the bottom line is that NATO needs Russia and Russia needs NATO. So let's approach the whole thing from that angle. But I will not comment on these issues on intelligence.
But does that mean that the relationship with Russia has changed because of this expulsion case?
I have said about the relationship what I said, and that's what I keep on saying, despite the fact that we have, on a number of issues, fundamental difference of opinion, but I'll not comment on the other case.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.